So if you've ever considered making a big career pivot, then this is the video for you. I talked with Cooper, who has decided, hey, I need to be earning a little bit more money. I need to sort of get an education. I need to upgrade my career. And we have a big conversation about that. And to be honest, at the end, I kind of make a bit of a mistake. Just if you hear her answers, you can just tell she knows what she's doing. And the advice I should have given her at the end isn't to figure out what she wants. It's, oh, well, here's a plan to get it. So great talk with her. And here's Understand Work. All right. So why is it you wanted to call in today?
I think so for me, I didn't have a lot of opportunity to get an education past high school back when I was, just graduated, and life took a series of turns, and I ended up kind of turning into turning into a music teacher. It wasn't like, this is the goal, this is the plan.
Sure.
I took a lot of piano lessons as a kid, and I swore I'd never be a piano teacher. But then, one thing led to another, and somebody's like, hey, you know how to play. Can you teach my kid? And I was 18, 19, right? And I'm like, yeah, I could probably teach a thing or two. And yeah, so before I knew it, I was teaching a bunch of kids piano. And I went, well, okay, I guess here I am. I've always had to supplement my teaching because, well, let's face it, unless you're teaching 100 or 150 kids, which is almost impossible, but unless you're doing that like day and night, you can't make it. It's not something that's, going to actually pay the bills. So I've always had to supplement my teaching, and I turned into actually absolutely loving it, going from saying I'll never be a piano teacher. I absolutely love it. For the past 15 years of my life, it has been something I'm super passionate about, and I really love it. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, no, it is truly the highlight of my day. It is like, whether I'm teaching 6-year-olds or 60-year-olds, which it doesn't matter. I absolutely love it. And I get to instill knowledge and build relationships and see progress. And it's really exciting. It's something that I really love doing. So where I'm finding myself now, I'm going, well, in my 40s, and I finally, and maybe call this midlife crisis, or realizing that, you wasted 20 years of your life, not intent, I didn't waste it. I enjoyed, and I do enjoy teaching, and I'll probably never give it up. But having the motivation to, okay, well, at some point I'm going to have to get an education, because like you said, work is not like it used to be. It's not, what can you do? It's the piece of paper. Where's your piece of paper to show you can do this job?
This piece of school, why do you think when you say education, what is it that you're thinking, oh, I need to get a degree in something?
Yeah, pretty much. I think if I think about how much time I have left in the workforce, even if I go to 65, there's another 20, 25, possibly 30 years left. I'm going, okay, that's as far as I have already gone in the work, in working years. So if I don't do it now, what am I going to be doing for the next 25 years? Teaching and supplementing my income with a low paying job?
But
And things will only progress. Things will only progress where you're going to need a degree to be able to make a decent wage.
what's your degree going to be in? Do you know?
I've looked into a couple of different things. Psychology really interests me. Therapy of some sort, whether it's a psychology degree or as a counselor of some sort, or just something because I know enough from teaching that I enjoy helping people.
Right.
And that is the driving force behind why I continue to teach, is I really love to see that what I'm doing is making a difference in people's lives.
Hey, me again. If you are enjoying this conversation and you would like to participate in a conversation like this, whether for the show or just you need some advice with your career, go to my webpage, joemorton.com, and I have all the resources available for you there for you to either sign up for this show or to get some career coaching to perhaps help you get your promotion, earn some more money, or just gain some more autonomy in your job. So I think that the the problem that you're perceiving is a real one. However, I would be, just from like what I know, I would not call it crisis. And the reason I wouldn't call it crisis is because, like, and this is from when I help people that are kind of having a crisis, career crisis. What's usually the case is they're locked into a job that does not fulfill, they are they are not internally motivated to do anymore. And so it could be a great job, but internally they don't have the motivation required to complete that job. And that's because all of their reasons for doing it were external things, such as, well, you should go to school and get this degree, and then you should get this job, and then you should be happy with this job, and then you should work hard at this job, and then you should get a house, and it's all these external things have been placed on them, and they've been like, they've nodded along, and then they get to a place and just like, wait a minute, I don't know if I like any of this stuff. Like, I don't know if I enjoy doing any of this stuff. And the feeling they get is just being really trapped and not knowing what to, and then that the trapped is sort of the first stage of the crisis. But you you're not experiencing that. You actually have created a career that is completely internally motivating to you. You enjoy all the aspects of the job, and the only part that's like not um that you're concerned about is the money put piece, right? Like, you would,
Yeah,
if
because
you
it's
could be a
not
music
financially feasible to continue doing this. And here's the other part of this. Okay, so there's been here and there job opportunities where it's like, okay, you know what? I could actually make more money and I'd probably be financially better off and more stable if I took this job. And it's full time and it's great. But then there's no flexibility on the hours. And I'm in a position where I have two choices: take the job and give up my teaching, or continuing to do what I want and just take some supplementary income. Because a lot of the time, and I'm like, I guess I like what I'm doing so much that I'm not willing to give it up. I'm
right,
not willing to
right.
give up the teaching aspect, because then I go, okay, well, then I'm in the same boat as everybody else. Yeah, great. I got a lot of money and I hate my job.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's really, um and you've done some of that, like when you say when you thought about the aspects of your job that you love, you've done some of the work that's necessary because you're pulling out some things and saying, uh well, I need this in my life and I need that in my life. I need the relationships. I need I want to be able to work with someone and see their progression and doing all those types of things. So you've sort of talked a little bit about like your interest in psychology and perhaps being a counselor. My only um worry would be for you right now is like, you can't really afford to be like, I'm kind of interested in psychology, so I'm gonna go to school and see. And I I think that would be a mistake. Unless, like, it'd be a mistake unless you're really willing to like say, and I'm interested enough in psychology that I'm actually willing to waste 2 years to discover if it's actually the thing I want to do. And if you're not willing to waste 2 years to discover if it's actually the thing you want to do, then it's probably like not, you're gonna have to get much more like, you're gonna have to make some choices before you sort of go down that path.
Right. I think for where I feel I'm at now, and like I don't know, I kind of look at it like I said, it's like, well, okay, I've done this for 20 years. Um, I've got to make a change. I've narrowed it down to a lot of, kind of just the therapy or psychology, something in that, specifically, I don't know, but I've narrowed it down to that. It's not like I'm, dying to be an astrophysicist. Like there's things that are definitely off the table. um, that are like, okay, that's not going to happen when I took into consideration, like, can I continue teaching? Okay, so as a psychologist or a therapist, you know what? I could probably keep my teaching schedule to some degree. I could still have a little bit of that fill, even if it's 5 kids, just enough to, I
Hmm.
enjoy that. It's more of a hobby for me, but it's still there. It's still that thing that I love doing. And the other aspect of my job, well, obviously, like, I'm helping people. So very good chances I'm going to enjoy that too. Wasting 2 years, like you say, and that could possibly happen. Or I look at it like, well, you know what? If I don't do anything,
Sure.
then in 2 years, I'm gonna be at the same spot I am today.
Okay. I
So, well, you know what? Take the risk and try
right.
it.
Yeah, and that's totally valid. If you're good with it, then it's like totally valid to do. Um, is there any way that you could add more value to your piano teaching and make more money from it?
I think there is. I've like kind of looked at the different aspects of like, okay, so how do I promote myself as a teacher? And, I'm not super great with like, doing that, I guess. And that possibility would open up more more students to some degree. Um, and then also like any kind of online stuff and considering a website where I'm selling PDFs of like different music teaching tools and things like that. So that's always something that I've kind of had in the back of my mind. Like, is there some way that I can make this a job that is where I don't have to have any other income?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's that's sort of that's the other option too. And I don't know if you're teaching kids, I don't know the industry at all. So I don't know if I would if you're teaching adults, do you get to charge more? If you're teaching an adult or a kid that was at a more advanced level that was preparing for what is the
Oh, for the Royal Conservatory. Yeah,
or not
no,
even the real concern, or like just when they
yeah.
pianos have like their shows or whatever it is. I can't remember. There's a name
Yeah.
that I'm blanking on, but it's like, oh, I can, me prepping you for that is like a different, um, I can prep you for that, but that's like a different thing. That would be like for myself, perhaps it would be like, oh, I can prep you for an interview, for a job interview, but that would be different. That's like a different thing we can do, um, that maybe I kind of sell separately. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just kind of saying like I don't know that world, but it's just sort of like that would be another thing to consider. But I don't
Right.
you'd have to sort of figure that out. Maybe financially it's like you'd have to work 80% harder to only make 20% more income, and that's like not going to cut it.
Unfortunately, yeah, that is the case. I've worked for a couple of different places doing teaching through different places. And they always take a cut of the money and in the end it's like, okay, great, I've got 50 kids, but I could be having 20 kids at home in my own business and make the
Right.
same money. And so it's like, okay, so time versus, you know what? And so I've always gone back to I've always had my own studio, my own business. I've kind of always kept a couple of kids through my own studio. Um, but yeah, it is great to work for other companies just for the networking and being able to kind of meet other teachers and that sort of thing. And I've also kind of here and there done things like kids camps. And
Yeah.
that's a little bit more, it's in the same line of work. And so it's like more money for less time. I'm
Yeah.
teaching a chunk of kids in this time frame. I can do that. But that's not something that's continual, right? It's a very sporadic thing.
Just to circle back on the education thing, and I just want to make sure because I've seen this a lot. I've even had these feelings myself sometimes. In terms of going and being like, you could get a job being, I'm trying to think of something here, but like you, there are jobs that are technical that require certification or uh, a technical, yeah, a technical certification that like right off the bat they up you to like being able to like make a better income, but they're not a degree. They're not something like that. And it's like Um, I know a lot of people that do in like in the medical world, there's things like radiologists and like hygienists and there's things like that.
Right.
And the hours are pretty good. They're like office hours, and then you're always getting paid a certain amount. It does not scratch the I think people don't like it as much because it doesn't scratch the education bug. And I'm just curious if like has getting a degree been something beyond just a like, hey, I'm at this age, I need to earn more money. Has there been sort of a you wish you'd had the degree before? Like I like for whatever reason, there's just something in yourself. There's just like a self-perception, a self-belief that's just been like, I want I you know, that like I'd feel better about myself if I had a degree.
Yeah, I think it's always been a bucket list thing. Like I said, life just kind of took a series of turns and I gave it up. I've always like loved learning, and I was kind of hard on myself for taking the path I did and just kind of settling for teaching and not taking the time to learn and get more educated. And now looking at it, I'm going, no, I've always loved that. I've always wanted a degree. I've always wanted to go back to school. That's something that I thought I missed out on. I I
Okay.
missed out on. And it's tough to see that now. But yeah, if not now, then when, right? So
Yeah. I think for you, like if I was gonna say like what your next step should be, I think really just figuring out what you want in terms of goals is going to be sort of the next thing. And not just what you want, it's you got to figure out the reasons why you want the things you want. Because just talking to you now, there's I think there's quite a bit that's like um there's quite a bit of things that are tied up, and that's totally it's fine if you want to go because like to be totally like super transparent with you. If someone came to me and says, like, I just want to earn more money, which is kind of how you started this conversation, I probably wouldn't say go get a degree. I actually would say, look, there's probably like a lot, like if you want to get a certificate, go get that. There's probably jobs that you could probably sit down and with the experience you have, like create a resume and like prep yourself for interviews, and you could go and get a higher earning job like in a couple of weeks. I believe that's the case. And it would, and maybe it would make you like even some of the places where you said you perhaps worked that are like that are that have been minimum wage or close to minimum wage. I'm sure there's a lot of those places where it's like if you were just like, hey, do you guys need a supervisor or some other like role? I feel like you could get together your resume and how you present yourself and like make yourself the person for that type of stuff too. But it doesn't sound like so it, I guess in a sense even though we kind of started to me it doesn't sound like just earning more is the goal. There's another there's something else there with the when we talk about the education piece or like what the job and that role is going to be like at the end of this process. And I think you and so I think getting really clear on that is going to help because like I said, we just spoke for like 30 minutes and like I can see the two different tracks kind of like running next to each other and it's like you kind of have to pick one if you're going to be if you're going to sort of be effective with like what you do next.
right. Yeah, I think you're right. I did a couple years back, I did try something. I kind of dove into something that I um never thought I would, and that was a customer service job. I'm not a salesperson at all.
Right.
But I it was one of those things I wanted to challenge within myself because I'm like, okay, I'm this terrifies me. This terrifies me so
Yeah.
much. But I want to know if this is actually something I might enjoy. And so I ended up taking a customer service slash sales job on the phone for a company. So it was from at home. So the hours were okay because I was able to still keep my teaching to some degree. I had to shift a couple of times, whatever. But for the most part, and I thought, you know what? Who knows where this will take me? But I'm gonna just try this and see what happens. I hated it. I did it for a year and I absolutely walked away from that job saying, you know what? I didn't like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. But I learned a lot.
Right.
I had
Right.
so many moments where I learned something about myself, and it was a journey of self. And I don't regret doing that and just taking the risk and going, you know what? I'm just gonna throw it all in and try this thing that I've never done before. It's not even really something I want to do, but you know what? Because it scares me, I've got to try it. And so I did, because sometimes when something scares you, you go in and you
Yeah,
go, wait, this is actually the best thing ever. So I thought,
yeah,
well, I've got to do that.
yeah. And I don't want to like, yeah, and I've like had those experiences myself, and I don't want to like put too much on it. It's like I don't know, even when you talk about your, you've got this like this piano teaching thing, and we spoke briefly about the idea of like making that more, but that's if that's not in you, if that's not what you want, then it's like it's good to not try and do that. Don't try and turn something you love into a business that you don't love, um, to earn more money.
Right. And
You
that's,
could
yeah.
you could go
So,
into the you could try and like businessify your piano teaching thing and be like, whoa, I'm making more money doing this, but like it's not, but I don't enjoy it really anymore.
that's yeah, definitely that's at the back of my mind a little bit too. And like speaking of that, so here's a question. People that do things that they are passionate about and that they feel that like, okay, this is my passion, this is something that I really enjoy doing. Is it okay to do like, for example, going into like some kind of psychology field because I enjoy helping people? Do you feel like that's going to be turning my passion into like a job where I'm going to actually hate it? Or is this a good thing? Should that, like, where on the percentage level should that be
Oh,
of importance when you go and look for a job? Should it be like I understand it can't be 100% like, if I'm not passionate about this, I won't do it. I mean, I wouldn't.
yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think people have to be very open with that. And so part of the reason of you spoke a little bit before about like working for doing the teaching for a different company and what that did. And like so part of the reason of having a job in a way is to do your role, the part of the role that you like of the or the part of the business that you like, and then export the other work to different people that like to do it. For instance, so it's like either you can have a teaching business yourself and then you're in charge of marketing it and selling it and making the prices and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, man, I hate all of that type of stuff. Or I could go work for this person and do this part of the job I like. And it's almost the same pay basically, but they take care of, what you're doing is they're taking care of all of this other stuff that you don't want to do. So it all just come back to sort of like the goal setting thing. I think, no, I think the one thing I would say about that is if there's something that you enjoy doing and you believe that you are good at doing it and that people would be that like you're actually going to improve people's experience by them working with you or like solving their problem, then no, I don't think there's any like I think that's totally fine. I think most people can like operate in that way and they can be like, look, I want to be uh, a psychologist so that I can help people, and but like obviously I'm gonna charge for that. Now where that line is for everyone is different, and so I can just say personally from myself, and because motivation like waxes and wanes and it's not always there for you. The
Right.
thing that
Yeah.
works for me always is just thinking of is like, okay, but like who am I serving? That's the only like, so whenever I'm like need clarity on what to do next, or like I'm not really motivated, I'm like, well, whatever. This isn't about me necessarily. It's like, who am I serving? And I think almost all jobs they should have that aspect to them. And if and that's different for everyone because that the answer to that question or the answer to that question isn't going to fulfill everyone like no matter what they're doing. But you could have someone, and like I see people all the time, there are people that can work at like a restaurant and they can be a server or they can be a cook. I think about cooks a lot because being a chef is like a really, really difficult job. And it asks like the industry is tough. And like when I talk to my friends that have been chefs when they were younger, the things that were demanded of them was just like crazy. However, it was never about them. Like that was like they were always able to get through that and do the job because it's like what they loved doing was like serving people their food. That was like, and they could. It's one of those professions that has a very very clear, um, like line between you and the person that you're serving. You're serving them your food, and you hope that they enjoy it. And
Right.
so,
Yeah.
whatever job you're doing, that's the part that you have to really like get clear on, because that's what's going to motivate you, and take care of all the other like stuff that's like, because there's going to be parts that you don't enjoy, but that's going to it'll take care of most of that most of the time.
Right. Yeah. Being able to see the bigger picture of like what am I doing this for? Or like who is it helping?
Who's it
What
helping? And
is
it
the
kind of,
purpose of this job?
yeah, I just find it useful for me because it externalizes a lot of like stuff that you can overthink, which kind of
Yeah.
like that's what your question sort of prompted in me, was like, well, there's a lot of things to think about there, but then it's like, actually there isn't. There's only one. There's It's really the only thing you want to think about is like, well, who do I get to serve at the end of this? And so for your job, you know, in terms of being like if you're going to do something that's more like being a counselor for people, then that's what you're doing. You're serving that person, and whatever works best to get you to that place, or let you do that the most efficiently, and what works best for you. That's the only that then that those are just the questions to resolve, but that's not
Yeah.
nearly as challenging.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think you want to take this next step with as much like confidence and self-worth as possible. So
Absolutely.
I think it would be important for you to just sort of like, this might sound weird, but almost like update your resume and go through that process, and like really like uh I some people like hate updating a resume. I think it can be great because it can be a time to just like reflect on the things that you've like accomplished and who you are. You get to really just define like be like, okay, this is who I am right now, and here's how I'm going to define myself, and here's the evidence for that. And so you don't have to do it like as a formatted resume, but like there's the exercises involved in that, where it's like you're kind of talking about your skills and your stories, and like actually like writing them out in a way to like that you can speak about them with other people. I think would really help you a lot, just to sort of ground you in your moment before you take this next step.
Yeah, that sounds good. Kind of like a check-in with yourself to kind of sometimes you've probably forgotten what you've all accomplished in a period of
Yeah.
time. So yeah, that sounds really good.
Okay. Yeah, I really appreciate you like sharing and calling in today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
this. It was good.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.